time, let's say 4. Okay. When straight to features and extruded boss base. I'm going to bump up the thickness of this quite a bit so we can see it. Now, we've worked with direction 1, direction 2. I don't really need to mess with those, but there's one beneath that called thin feature. If I check that box for thin feature, I'd be able to see very quickly what it's done. It's decided rather than having a solid, it would make basically a piece of tubing. I'm going to bump up the thickness of this so we can see it more clearly in terms of what it's doing. In fact, with a nice 0.5 thickness, we can definitely see that I sketched a circle with a 4-inch diameter. Right now, I'm going to use my mouse wheel to rotate to point out and prove to you that it's going outward. The thickness or wall thickness of 0.5. I can hit this next to one direction, click on that, and force it inward. Now we also have, among those choices, a midplane. We all know what that means, but now it's going outward 0.25 and inward 0.25, splitting that wall thickness. Or two direction. Just like our multiple directions for the length or depth of the feature, now we're controlling the wall thickness and saying, outward I want it to go 0.5, inward I'm going to make it go 0.2. If I look normal through that sketch, you'll see a little more clearly. 0.2 inward, 0.5 outward. Right now, cap ends doesn't make much sense, but for now, what I want to point out to you, even though we've got all those different options, if I click OK, it creates a feature, and it's called Extrude Thin. Now, if I were to click on the icon next to that feature and go to Edit It, you'll notice that the thin feature is still there, and I can modify the directions or the type, but I cannot uncheck it. I can't force it to be a normal solid again, where it closes in that shape and only extrudes the inner portion of it. The only way for me to convert that back to a normal solid is to cancel this, to delete the feature. Right-click on the icon and choose Delete, and answer yes. It'll keep the sketch. Now I go to select the sketch and go back to extruded boss base, and it becomes a solid block again. Remember that option, thin feature, is there. Now, if I make it a solid block, switches, and click OK. We've seen this before. Now I go to click on that icon and go to Edit It. The thin feature option isn't even there anymore. So in either case, I cannot convert it to a thin feature or back. The only answer is to go ahead, well, in this case I hadn't created it yet, but let's go ahead and create it and say, oh no, I want that to be a thin feature. The only answer is to delete the feature and start over with that. Go back to extruded boss base. Notice that I picked the extruded boss base before I picked the sketch. It's really simple for me to just go pick geometry from the sketch, and it'll go ahead and extrude that. Let's choose thin feature again. And like I say, work with those options here. One direction. You can technically, something really complicated here, not really complicated, but we could make this two direction, 0.2 inward, 0.5 outward, make it a second direction as far as the depth, say 1 inch. Let's draft that outward.